Cortisol is something I call the survival hormone because it's really true. We can't live without it. If your cortisol gets too low, you'll actually die. You'll die of infection. You'll die of your body being unable to maintain healthy blood sugar or healthy blood pressure. The thing is, that survival hormone, when we get too much of it over time, is something that we pay the price for. Because another name for cortisol in medicine is the wear and tear hormone. And when we get too much cortisol over time, it can start to lead to stress symptoms, anxiety, depression. It can affect our sleep, our weight, our blood sugar balance. It can affect our immune systems and lead to autoimmune diseases. And it can affect our hormones, leading to every hormone imbalance you can imagine, from irregular periods to polycystic ovary syndrome. It's associated with some of the inflammatory changes in endometriosis. It can lead to fertility problems, miscarriages, and much, much more. So I started to connect the dots in my patients, in my medical practice, and also in my own life and say, you know what? What are the things that women can do that can bring that stress response system into better balance? As I said, balance is an inside job, and help us to reset that cortisol when it gets too high, or when what can ultimately happen when it's too high for too long. The body protects you in its wisdom from that overexposure that leads to wear and tear and leads you to have low cortisol, which can cause some of the same problems and some other problems as well. But the three core things that I can teach you are resetting your circadian rhythm. This is the 24-hour rhythm of light and dark that actually controls our cortisol. If we are having disruption in our circadian rhythm, it can set off our entire cortisol rhythm and lead to all the symptoms I've talked about and more. The second thing is getting our blood sugar in balance. When our blood sugar is chronically too high because we're under too much stress and we're eating too much sugar and too much carbs, or when our blood sugar stays too low because we're so busy that we're skipping meals and not eating enough, or, as is very common for women, roller coastering between getting overly hungry and then binging out on the sugar to catch up on our energy, it sends our brains into DEFCON 1. That means we go into high overdrive survival mode, and that can really cause our cortisol to get off. So circadian rhythm, blood sugar balance, and then there's a third thing, which is the overwhelm that we all experience in our lives. Now, there are some aspects of our lives that we just can't change. Like, a lot of women are having teenage kids and taking care of older parents at the same time while trying to maintain a day job, keep their relationships healthy, keep their bodies healthy, and it can be really overwhelming. And some of these things we just can't change. They're fixed aspects of just being a human being. But there are some things that we can change, and that was what really was a wake-up call for me when I was looking at my patient's life, and I went home that day and said, hey, you know, what's on my to-do list, or what have I said yes to that is a self-imposed stress that I can make a shift on? Where in my life can I add in some self-care that I'm not allowing myself to hit the pause button often enough and replenish and nourish myself? In a lot of ways, our stress response system is like a piece of elastic. You stretch it and it bounces back. You stretch it and it bounces back. But as all of you have probably experienced, if you have a piece of elastic, let's say in a skirt that you've worn just too many times, that elastic can get really stretched out and not bounce back. And when it gets really stretched out, you also can't stretch it any further. So it's lost its resilience. When we don't allow ourselves to stretch and bounce back, stretch and bounce back, we become overstretched or overstressed, and we also lose our ability to stretch more. We lose our ability to take chances, to grow, to do those big things in our lives that we want to, because we've lost our resilience.